Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds Podcast. I'm your co-host, Puma El Gato, the cat that gives you your lady back. And to my right over here is the main man, Susan Nero, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die, deadlier than the Diaz brothers, and spicier content than your girls' only fans. Brother, what is the topic of discussion this week?
Tonight we're going to discuss one topic. I know normally we have 3 or 4, but tonight the topic that we're going to talk about is a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And recently a lot of our homeboys have actually discussed having very, very similar issues. So I felt that, maybe we dedicate this show strictly to this topic. With that being said, the topic is why it's difficult to date a single mother. Now, I know just with the title, a lot of you are going to get all up in a bunch and start talking shit, but hear us out. First of all, before we even start getting into the topic, I want to say that when we're discussing these issues, this isn't about the bum baby daddies. The bum baby daddies, the bum stepfathers, the bum whatever the fuck you want to call them, we're not talking about them. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get things started a little bit. Are we going to be telling 2 different stories of your buddies, or are you going to be telling just the one?
I guess I would say both of them. Okay. It doesn't matter. They're both really similar. They might as well be the same story anyway. All
right, with that being said, I'll kind of jump into mine. So the expectations of single mothers when they're out in the dating field, and I've seen plenty of people on my own Facebook say this, that if you are going to come into my life, just know that, I come as a package, meaning, if you want to be dating me, you got to understand that you're going to accept my child or children, depending on the circumstances, which I think a lot of us individuals have. I'll use myself. I've accepted that in this day and age, if I go out into the world looking to date somebody, I'm more than likely going to date a mother in one way or another. I mean, unfortunately, and I do say this unfortunately because it's too young to be having kids and miss out on life a lot. Moms or women are having babies a lot earlier. When I was going to high school, there was a lot of women, a lot of children, because again, I was a child myself, that were 15, 16 years old and having babies. It was just definitely a weird situation, but it's normal. It's normal. So with that being said, I've accepted the fact that if I go out into the dating world, I am going to date a woman that more than likely has kids. And again, the notion that I've seen passed around Facebook is if I'm a package. If you want me, you gotta accept my children, and that's understandable. I accept that. I respect it. At the end of the day, your kids come first. Respect. Where a lot of our homeboys, myself included, have started having an issue is that the all pro no cons to that thought all cons no pro to that dynamic, and let me explain. So in my personal story, I met a mother who at the time was going through something difficult. I helped her get her mind right to get out of that particular difficult scenario. She was with previous to me, she was with a individual who was not good for her, not because I just have a bad opinion of him, but this individual mistreated her in a number of ways, including physically. With that being said, I told her, you can't be waiting for this individual. He's clearly a piece of shit. So on and so forth. So I'm going to skip over some of those details because that's her personal story. With that being said, fast forward. So at a certain point, we discussed it amongst ourselves that I would not meet her child until we felt that the relationship was on a secure footing, meaning, I didn't want to put the little dude into a scenario in which he got attached to me because I came in very early in his life. He's going to be looking at me as father and so on, and I get attached to him in the same way. And then if me and her break up, he no longer has a father, I no longer have a child. And that's really the root of our discussion tonight, is that women often talk about, again, using those examples I gave earlier, if you accept me, you accept the package. Well, I would pose this question as far as, unfortunately, a lot of women nowadays, and again, it's not just my personal experience, but I have a homeboy, he has a couple homeboys, and I've discussed it often with people on Facebook that have been through this exact scenario wherein, again, child looks at the male as father. They've been there for all the fatherly roles, teaching them shit, teaching them sports, teaching them homework, math, spelling, whatever it may be. All this child has known is this individual as father, and then when mother decides I don't want to be with this guy anymore, they ripped child from who was essentially stepfather. And it's bullshit. In my eyes, it's bullshit because here's the thing: you ask this man who at this juncture really has nothing tying him down. And again, I'll use myself as an example. I don't have any kids. I've chosen to not to have kids for a very long time. So I come into the relationship, no matter who I'm with, strings free. You know, there's no baby mama drama. There's no, you know, I'm good. You know, I had my divorce. My divorce was, you know, 8 years ago. I'm over it. I haven't spoken to the woman since. So I come in strings free. With that being said, again, I know that I'm going to be emotionally invested with this individual, with this child, with this mother, and to me, it's bullshit because you give me all of the cons, meaning all the tough stuff, the responsibility, the taking care of the child financially, the emotional investment, the having to nurture this child into growing up, and then because you and I don't mesh, because you and I don't, you know, stay together for long term, you're not saying, well, because I have an issue as a mother with you as you know, who was the father, I'm not going to now rip this child away from the only father he's ever known. And, you know, it creates an emotional trauma for both the father, stepfather, the father that manned up, that took a step forward to be the responsible adult and be in this child's life and guide him as a father. And also the child, because now the child, not only is he confused, or she is confused about, well, do I have a fucking father or not? I know in my case, unfortunately, little dude did ask, well, you know, do I have a father now? Which is kind of heartbreaking if I'm being honest with you guys. It is by no means a decision that I was agreeable with. Not to say that, you know, if me and mother have to break up, I understand that. That's perfectly acceptable. But I've invested in this child emotionally. I've invested in this child's future. I've sat down with them with his homework. I've taught him how to tie his shoes. I've done a number of things that a father should do. I've protected the child. I've spoken to the child when he was bad. I've been there when he was sad. So on and so forth. So again, leading us back to the topic, women, single mothers in particular, you guys have to understand that you guys are really hurting your chances out here with individuals who are taking the responsible role. And again, a lot of these children, they don't have another father. You know, the stepfather is the only father they've ever known. So because you don't work out with father, to now rip that family apart. I understand you and the father can't be together. I get that. That's fine. That shit happens. Again, I've been through a divorce. I get it. Sometimes shit, you just can't work it out as much as you may try. But to say, hey, you know what? Even though you did everything a father do, you have absolutely no rights. And that brings us to another main issue here. That's the problem, is that as stepfathers, we don't have any rights. And it sucks because it's one of those scenarios which you got to think. It makes it hard for a man, especially a man that's been through it, to want to come into your life, to see you with the child and say, why am I going to put myself through that heartbreak again? Why am I going to insert myself into another scenario in which, you know, I am going to be the stepfather, I'm going to, you know, help this child grow in whatever way, only for, you know, if you and me break up as a couple, I'm now going to lose a child. Imagine if all you mothers out there losing your child every couple of years, having a child growing, you know, helping them grow, so on and so forth, and then just as quickly as you're raising them, they're out of your life. Not because, unfortunately, they died. It's not because, you know, they it's not because you can't see them. It's because somebody won't let you see them. And it's heartbreaking for not just, again, the father, but it's heartbreaking for the child, because for some children, that's the only father they've ever known. For some children, like I'm not going to say my homeboy's name, but my homeboy, a good homeboy of 10 plus years, 15 plus years actually, in his case, father's in the picture, kind of, actual biological father, but he's kind of delved and given all the responsibility to stepdad. And it's sad because, you know, should they not have a good working relationship, mother and stepfather, he's been in that child's life, I'm going to say, for 6-7 years now. He's watched her grow up. He's watched her, you know, now going on to college and whatnot. So it's heartbreaking. So you single mothers have to understand that, especially if they're coming in childless like myself, we are making a gigantic sacrifice by dating you guys. Not because it's a bad thing to date single mothers, but because you hold the key to us having a child and not having a child the next second. It's completely on you. It's your responsibility, and it's bullshit that again, if it was just one story, if it was just my story, I would be like, you know what? Unfortunately, it happens. There's some people out here that are too immature. But again, we have multiple homeboys that are going through the exact same thing. And again, the homeboy that I'm speaking of, he doesn't have a child. He came into, mother-daughter. In some of the scenarios that he's talked about his homeboys, at least one of them I know, same thing. He doesn't have a child. He came into a mother-daughter scenario. So again, it's not a one-off. It's just happened in my scenario. It's a problem across the board. And here's the thing that you ladies have to understand is you guys have to be willing to give up some of your power. If you want a good man to come in, a good man, if you want to, someone that's going to treat your child like their blood kin, you have to accept that you have to give up some of that power, because whether you like it or not, if child looks at this individual as father, you have to accept that. Look, if shit don't work out between me and him, I still got to let them have a relationship, whether I agree with his view on life, whether I agree his way of life, so on and so forth. As long as he's not putting the child in danger, you have to let go of some of that power, and you have to give in and say, you know what, he's been a father, he's been there. I'll let you go ahead and tell your boy's story.
So with respect to him, because I think originally he was going to come on here, but unfortunately some things fell through. But with respect to him, because I don't know how much he was going to share, I'm going to leave some details out, like names and what was going on with the girl. And he actually came to me with this information because he wanted to let me know what was going on in his life and what was going on. So he came to me in my work and he shared all these details that he was with this chick that also had a daughter, and also described what you described, where I've known him like 5 years way back. It got brought up, the discussion of if he was ever going to date a single mother, and he was like, if I did date somebody that did have a kid, I would take them on as my own. And like, true to his word, he actually did. I saw him go through with that. Unfortunately, I saw him go the bad end of that route, in which some shit happened. It was more so on her end. She had some stuff that was going on in her background of her life, and she told him, hey, we might need to have to put a hold on this relationship while I figure all this bullshit out on the side, whatever. And he was like, okay, I understand. And then she like blocked him on all fucking social media, which he thought was weird. And he was like, I understand you don't want like contact, but why like nuking me off everything? And she's like, oh, I just don't want to think about it. It's like, I just want to focus on all this shit that I have over there, and then we'll come back to it or whatever. And then some shit fell down between them. She was being very ghosty, and then he asked. It was a daughter, I think, they were taking care of. For lack of a better term, we'll just call her Amelia. And he asked, like, well, what do we do about Amelia? And then she said, what do you care? She's not your daughter.
And that, let me interject here. That is fundamentally fucked up right there. If you bring this individual and say, hey, you must accept me and my child. If you want anything to do with me, you must accept my child as your own. Or at the very least, you have to understand you will have fatherly duties. You're asking that man to make an emotional investment in your child, and then later on when you break up with him because you two can't work out, you're now saying, what the fuck do you care? It's not your child. It's fundamentally fucked up. A lot of you fucking do it, and you guys are fucking trash for it. If you want a man, and here's the thing again, I see a lot of you post about it, talk about it on Facebook. I see a lot of you talk about it, post about it on Instagram. You have kids, and you're looking for a relationship. You want to come into a scenario where a man will accept you and your child, and that's the thing you have to understand. You have to accept that he will become a father. You have to accept that he should have the rights as just as much as you, because if you want them to bond, if you want your child to feel safe around this individual, to have fun with this individual, to have the family moments with this individual, you have to give him the same rights that you have. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine. It was funny because I also shared something, and it was that thing that was talking about men. You do have to be aware, if you're ever going to date a single mother, you have to take on the child as well. We are a package deal. And I said, all right, cool. Like what you said before at the beginning of the show. Like I completely agree with that logic 100%. But what they don't want to acknowledge is that yes, we will accept that as a package deal, but if should some shit go down, again, if he's a bum, fuck it, get him out of there. But if some shit were to go down, now we have to cut more ties on our end, and it's gonna hurt us more so than it's gonna hurt you, because you only have to cut one tie. We have to cut maybe two, maybe three if it's a bigger family. And I remember I shared that, and then somebody voluntarily, it was an old high school homeboy that shared his story voluntarily. And he was like, yeah, I understand. That actually happened to me recently. And I asked him, like, was there any details, like, that you can share? Like, can you be as personal as you want? And he was like, yeah, I dated this girl, and she had this kid, and me and the kid did everything together. We fucking watched movies, we played video games together, we did all this stuff. And then some shit between us fell through. And I said, well, what about, let's call him Aiden. What do we do about Aiden? And she said the same thing in the earlier scenario. Don't worry about it, they're not your kid. Which, the moment I heard that is when I brought the topic up to you, because I was like, yo, this is way too fucking coincidental. 1, 2, 3 times? 3 times now that I've heard that phrase. And not even me, just from other people experiencing their pain. Saying, don't worry about it, they're not your kid, in a relationship that were previously in, where they were told, yeah, this is your kid. Now all of a sudden, they're not your fucking kid anymore.
Yeah, you know what hurts me is because, me personally, in my personal scenario, is we had a long discussion before I was to become a fixture in child's life. And in this particular instance, we even discussed, you know, she asked me, you know, would it be okay if he called you dad? And of course, you know, especially at that juncture, I'm like, yeah, you know, I would definitely be more than okay with him calling me dad. And then, you know, to go from this little dude that called me by my name to them calling me dad, you know, it's heartbreaking, man, especially when, and I'm going to use an example related and not related to this instance in a moment, but it's heartbreaking when you go from my dad to that guy, my dad to that guy that I live with, or you know, you see them growing up in a way that you know you contributed to that success. You know, again, I'll use my example. You know, I sat down with little dude, and I did everything with them as far as, like, for example, with schooling and whatnot. School was always very important to me. I graduated, got a couple of degrees, so I wanted to make sure that my son also had that value of education in him. So I would sit down with them and, you know, work out with his homework. I do his reading with him and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, mom did that too, but I'm saying I contributed. And to go from that to a scenario where not only am I again broken off with this person that for, you know, in my case, you know, 7 years I was dating, to a scenario now in which not only are we not dating, which is already heartbreaking because, you know, you care about that individual obviously, but now, you know, I'm sonless. It's definitely a heartbreaking scenario. And here's the thing, I know the little dude loved me. You know, when I would come home from work, he, you know, would run up to me and, dad, you know, how I was worried about him, you know, do all the stuff that all kids do. And it's, and, you know, you get that warm fuzzy feeling inside. So to go from that to like a scenario in which, you know, you don't have them in your life, it's heartbreaking. And because we're just stepfathers, we're just expected to take it. I'm gonna discuss that portion here in a second as well, and give a little bit of advice to stepfathers out there. But you know, it's even more heartbreaking when it turns from our son to my son. And using that little segue there, I'm gonna jump in. So first of all, even if you're a stepfather, you have rights. In Arizona, they're called third-party rights. I've discussed this with a few attorneys, and at the very least, you'll get visitation, which, again, you have to just show, you know, you've been a fixture in that child's life for a certain period of time. You have to show that, you know, clearly this little dude or this little girl sees you as a fixture in their life. They see you as father, you know, whatever it may be. So you do have rights. It just, for me personally, I'll be honest with you, man. Look, I don't want to cause any more harm than I've already caused to this child by, you know, whatever I've done as far as me breaking up with his mother and whatnot, or her breaking up with me. And it's heartbreaking because, you know, as a father, you know, your number one thing is you want to take care of your family. You want to protect your family from pain. And unfortunately, you know, in certain scenarios, you just can't avoid that. Listen, ladies, this isn't my personal opinion. I discussed this issue with 7 different attorneys, 4 women, 3 men. And one of those female attorneys self-identifies as a feminist. I asked them, because I work in family law, I asked them, who do you feel is more difficult when it comes to divorces? Because again, we do that on an everyday basis. And they said that every single one of them, including the feminist, said that women are far and beyond more difficult when it comes to divorce, especially divorce including children. When I asked them, can they explain to them, they all pretty much say the same thing, that generally speaking, when mother, even if it's a biological father, when mother decides that the divorce is over, and women account for 80% of divorce, meaning they're the ones that file first, they want father basically gone, out of the picture. They want father to have absolutely no rights, even though it's biological father. They want they want the extreme for father to lose just all rights. They want to have children 24/7. They want the father to still pay child support. Like, they just want the more far extreme. Whereas when I asked them, okay, well, what do men do? The attorneys, they all told me, well, men do have some extremes, but their extremes aren't that extreme. Meaning, they want child with them. You know, they're still willing to obviously let mother have visitation and all that. They don't want to take anything from that. But I said, okay, in that case, you know, if that's the extreme, how easy is it to talk men down? They're like, men are much more rational when it comes to that. Men understand that more than likely, best case scenario, they're going to get 50-50. Whereas it's a pain, and this is their words, to get women to come to terms with the reality of the situation. Meaning, like, look, he's father, he has rights, you're going to have to give. Meaning, you're more than likely going to share 50-50 with this child. Now, I'm in Arizona. So with that being said, in Arizona, the statute says that both parents will have 50-50. So whether you like it or not, as a mother, you do have to give the father of your child 50% custody. Now, obviously, factors can change that depending on what the parents agree. So, you know, father or, you know, child may be with mother more, or may be with father more. But again, it's the court sees it as starting right down the middle, 50-50. Again, when speaking with the attorneys, they discuss the issues of, you know, generally speaking, women are in the extreme in child support, in legal decision making, meaning they get to make the decisions that they believe they should get to make the decisions as far as child, whether it's medical, whether it's school, whether it's after school sports, after school activities, so on and so forth. They also discuss that when it comes to what's called joint decision making, they generally don't go for it. They generally say, hey, look, I want child with me, you know, I want, you know, women just want it, you know, way tipped in their favor. Whereas again, even when men in these avenues, when they're unrealistic, and I'm gonna quote that, is because in my eyes, what they said was men being unrealistic is really men just saying, I want the child to live with me, and I will gladly give mother visitation. I will share joint custody, meaning, you know, I will, you know, be okay with 50-50, you know. So there's things that a lot of times fathers ask for, but it's not that far from the extreme. And again, keep in mind, I asked 7 attorneys. I specifically wanted to make sure that I asked more women than men, because I didn't want people to think that this is me giving some sort of bias term. They resoundingly, every single one of them said it's not even close. Women generally want more, want to give fathers less, so on and so forth. I actually recently had a case where mother didn't want father to have any visitation because she's like, well, I was a stay-at-home. He was, you know, making the money. What if he doesn't know how to feed the child? Stuff like that. And it's like, yo, like, these are things that every parent's gonna know, man. It's not, you know, unless child, and in this case it wasn't, unless child has some sort of, you know, particular feeding issue. You can't assume, like, one of the attorneys that I've conversed with told me, you know, you can't assume that they're gonna do bad. You have to give them a chance to do right. And unfortunately, mothers go to that extreme, and I get it. You know, mothers want to be the nurturer, so on and so forth. But again, it's not your decision. Men have rights as well. Again, I don't want this to come off as me bashing women, because I get it, man. That's your child. In the same way that I'm hurt when I'm not around my child, I can understand that you will also be hurt by not being around your child. But the problem is that for stepfathers in particular, it's too heavily on one side, where we have all of the responsibility with none of the benefit. Because again, you could take the benefit away from us like that, and that's what I think is wrong. And that's where you ladies have the responsibility of being adults about it. Again, I'm not saying stay with this guy. If you feel that you need to break up with this individual, you just can't work it out, that's fine, that's acceptable, that's understandable, that's reasonable. But to say, okay, what do you care? They're not your child. They've been my child. If you told me you must accept, I accepted. I manned the fuck up, especially when original bio father was not in the picture. I manned the fuck up and I became the father that child needed. You have to give me the same respect that you would any other. Like, again, if bio dad was in the picture, these women would be forced to give bio dads, you know, visitation, you know, so on and so forth. And because they have that, technically, you know, I'm not biological father, they have that, you know, they can dangle it over you type thing. So I don't know, man. It bothers the fuck out of me because you women don't take that into consideration when you guys are out there looking and saying, you know, I want to be in a relationship, but you gotta accept me. That's fine. We understand. See, that's the thing. Especially, again, we're not talking about the bums. We're not talking about the pieces of shit. We're not talking about the motherfuckers that are just here trying to get some pussy. We're talking about the motherfuckers that have good fucking intentions and treat your children well. And here's the thing. I know that they're out there because I've spoken with some of these mothers and they say, you're right. I do need to give stepdad some of these rights. Or I need to respect that there's a relationship there between my child and stepfather. So with that being said, you guys have to come into the situation saying, if I expect you as a stepfather, as an individual, to take care of myself and my child, meaning you will nurture that child as if your own, you have to accept that if that relationship breaks up, I still should get the right to see who has become my child. Anything else you want to contribute as far as that particular issue, my man?
I feel like they're because it's been one side or whatever, that men more often than not don't really get to see their children, because again, women do kind of dangle that right of seeing their children and right in front of them or whatever. That was like, well, shit, there's nothing we can really do about it. The law's on her side. And I've seen memes, countless memes of making fun of men for being deadbeat. If they truly don't want to be in these kids' lives, all right, fine. If they're abusive, all right, fine. You're well within your rights to cut them out.
Get them
I understand that. But they're in the conversation of, oh, all men are deadbeat dads. And here's the thing: when you have the law on your side and you have the right to dangle that kind of right in front of them, you can't exactly call them deadbeat if you have the right to fucking, if they say something that you don't like, if they do something that you don't like that isn't necessarily harmful to you or the child. If there's anything that you disagree with them on and you can just cut them right out of the child's life, you can't really say that. You can't really call them a cripple if you shot them in the leg and it was like, well, he doesn't want to run. I was like, you can't really be the decider of that and say, oh, well, they don't want to take care of the child. They do. I've legit seen 5 cases now where that's been the case. That can't be a coincidence.
You know, here's the thing. I want to be a little sensitive on the topic, because I have a couple female friends on my Facebook right now that are going through a custody battle in which they're trying to get. They, for whatever reason, have lost some of the rights of their child, and generally, in their cases, child is with father. So I don't want anyone to feel like I'm sitting here trying to bash women. The point that I'm trying to put out is, as stepfathers in particular, we are taking on all the responsibility with no potential benefit. Meaning, again, not because we don't want to benefit from this child in the sense of seeing them grow up, you know, seeing them succeed and so on and so forth. This is that you can take that away from us. When there's a biological mom and a biological father, the law says they both have rights. Whether neither one of you likes it, whether either one of you likes it, you guys have equal rights. Stepfathers don't get that privilege, unfortunately. And that's the thing where, again, I've accepted. I am okay. I am looking forward to fathering a child. I have no problem with it. I've been doing it for the past 7 years. I am okay with it. What I'm not okay with is someone saying, today you're a father, tomorrow you're not, because I have become emotionally invested in that child. That's why, again, when we were discussing what topics to discuss, like you said, it can't be a fucking coincidence that again, in a total of 5 different stories, just amongst our close friends, just amongst the people that we bullshit on an everyday basis, this exact same issue is going on. And again, you ladies are the ones that need to handle this in a mature manner. Again, if he is a bum, if he's a piece of shit, get him the fuck out of there. I'm not arguing for those motherfuckers. I'm arguing for the motherfuckers that some of you have agreed are great fucking fathers. Here's the thing. My ex, she said I'm a great fucking father. I have it recorded. She admits that I am a great fucking father. I have text where she says that I'm a great fucking father. But the reason that I'm not in child's life is because me and her just couldn't see eye to eye on our relationship. And that's bullshit. That's bullshit because she's admitted that she knows that it hurts a little man. And look, I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I don't want to put her or my personal business out there too much. But again, I have a vested interest in this particular issue because, again, my boy, the one the story that I was using a second ago, I'm not gonna give up too much of his information for the same reason I'm trying to be sensitive. But here's the thing: he is a great fucking father, man. He just recently, when we were hanging out, he advised that again, his child is going off to college, and he wanted to purchase her a particular item for college that's a little bit more on the expensive side, but he wanted her to have it because, like, look, if you can start off, on a good footing, going into college, it's going to help you out. And that's the thing that a lot of times people don't see. Like, a lot of times people, think of fathers in a way because I'll use myself as an example. I'm not a super emotional guy. So a lot of people think that, because I'm not, overly emotional and stuff like that, he must not give a fuck. That's not true at all. In fact, me personally, my man here can attribute, a lot of you guys that have lived with me can fucking, can fucking show that I'm telling the truth on this. I'm constantly thinking. Me personally, I'm always thinking about the next way to come up. That way, I can do better for my family. Not just, my son or my wife, whoever that may be at that time, but everybody in my family. I'm constantly trying to bring up the homies. A lot of y'all live with me, so a lot of y'all know what I'm talking about when I say that. I'm constantly trying to find a way to make everybody money so that we all succeed. So my way of showing my emotion, my way of showing my family that I care is by making sure that they're always safe, they're always secure, and that we never have to worry about food or house, nothing like that. So again, I know a lot of you guys won't say, that's only part of it. You have to be emotional. I hugged my son. I taught my son. I fucking sat there and read with them. I did everything a father's supposed to do. It's not that I wasn't emotional. I cared for a little bit. I hugged him. I gave him a kiss. I read him fucking goodnight stories, all that shit. But what I'm saying is my love comes in a different format. My love comes in a, I need to provide security. I need to provide safety for my son. I need to educate my son. And I need to teach him the shit that I wasn't taught. So there's a number of things that again, because I'm not an emotional person, that doesn't mean I don't care. I just show my affection in different ways. So a lot of times when you ladies, you guys get that shit confused. I've seen a lot of y'all talk about, he doesn't do this, and this. I'm like, okay, but what does he do? Because if you're with him, he's got to be doing something. So again, this isn't for the bums, this isn't for the pieces of trash, this is for the dudes that are actually legitimately trying out there. So with that being said, me personally, if the man that you no longer wish to be with, the man that you no longer wish to sleep with, the man that you no longer wish to create a future with is a great father, by your own words, is a great father, you need to let that motherfucker see his child. Because that is his child. Whether you like it or not, that's his child. And if you raise this child in a manner that makes him see this guy as father, you need to accept that he is father, whether you like it or not. Anything else you want to add to that, my man?
No, not really.
Alright, so this is going to be an ongoing topic. Again, I don't want this to be my personal opinion. That's why I consulted with these 7 different attorneys. Again, I work in a field where I deal with divorce every day. I deal with child custody every day. I deal with parenting issues and all that, so on and so forth. So there's a number of stories that I can tell. I generally don't like to put people's business out there. That's why, even though I didn't really want to talk about my personal issues, I kind of put them out there. That way you guys can see that, look, I have some experience in this particular avenue. With that being said, this is going to be an ongoing and evolving issue that I'm going to talk about, because there's a lot of fathers out there that won't talk about this, because again, it's a sensitive topic, because especially in this day and age, man, if you call out women for the BS that they do, it seems like you're automatically, they try to ostracize you. They're automatically, you're a fucking woman hater. Like, it has nothing to do with that. Again, ask a lot of my female friends, a lot of which fucking will comment on my shit. I support women's rights, support a lot of the shit that women go through, a lot of the struggles. But the thing is, we have to, if we're gonna hold fathers for some of them being fucking bums and whatnot, fair enough. But we have to hold women. Again, if you say, yes, you're not a great spouse, but you're a great father, why the fuck are you withholding that father from child? With that being said, that's my last little take on it. Again, I'm sure we'll be discussing this and a lot of social issues as time goes on. This is just a topic that, again, we had a number of friends that were kind of all going through the same thing, that kind of brought it to our attention, so we wanted to discuss it to bring a little bit of awareness to it. That being said, before we actually sign off, I do want to discuss one more thing. With these issues, especially as a father who comes into a family that's already been pre-built, and you become father in that instance, and then you no longer are part of that family. I know that he mentioned one of his boys was going through it. I know my boy, in a previous very similar scenario where unfortunately it was found out that he was not father of child he believed to be father of. They go through these mental health issues, man, and they in the case of my boy, he hit the bottle pretty hard. in case of a lot of our friends, you know, they get into this zone where they like it mentally fucks you. So with that being said, please, if you have any sort of mental health issues, please seek help. You know, call your friends, call your family, call us, whoever the fuck you gotta talk to. Don't do anything stupid. Again, you know, very recently, I guess you can call him an old friend, took his own life. Yeah, again, if you have any sort of mental health issues, please just seek help. Doesn't matter who it is, talk to somebody, because it's rather, you know, it's better for you to fucking talk to somebody than, you know, not be here. With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this particular show.
Till next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.
That was good, man. I felt it was somber enough for the topic.
Yeah.
And still a respectable